about the young generation, right? I mean, we heard about the young generation in the challenge now, but the young generation here, my partner in crime, co-moderating the session with our panelists, which we ask for a moment to come up. But and Jonathan, you said that she's one of the youngest managers in Cube Global, 23 years old in the Vietnam office, and Son-Trang is going to do that together with me. What you might want to also know is that she actually grew up in North America, in Europe, in Asia, so she's a melting pot of cultures. Why are you actually in hospitality?
Oh, the big question, right? I guess, I mean, for the people, I think there's something so magical about learning how to care and welcome a person in a space that you're not aware of. So I think that's so magical. I learn about it every single day, and that's why I'm in hospitality.
Cool. And our leaders come up in a moment. What I want to share with you is this is not a scripted session. This is not prepared questions. And they kindly agreed to that. We're just going to cover a little bit who they are as human beings, what's happening in the industry, and we heard a lot about sustainability, and we want to talk a little bit about sustainability and leadership within hospitality, in leadership in sustainability.
Absolutely. I mean, you were on stage earlier, but I would love to present to you Wolfgang as well. Wolfgang was the former CEO of Radisson Hotel, and now you have so many different roles, right? You're chair at the Hotelschool The Hague. You're also chair of the Sustainable Alliance Hospitality
Alliance, yeah.
Yeah. And if you did not know, Wolfgang is a ultimate man of the nature. You like to ski, you like to rock climb, you like to be grounded. I think that's amazing because you have such an intense role as, executive. So being grounded to the nature is something very important, especially now with talks about sustainability, right? My question for you, before we jump into the rest of the CEOs, because you were one as well, could you please describe your career in only 3 words?
International, rewarding, and about people.
Amazing. So concise. I would now love to present our panelists. We have Mr. Sandeep Walia, Mr. Guy Hutchinson, and Mr. Jochem-Jan as well. Hello.
We have an order. Under the picture. There we go.
Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so much for giving us the time for this. This is quite cool, right? Next to all of these CEOs. Like Wolfgang said, none of these panelists have received these questions beforehand. So we're just going to throw you all these questions, and please feel free to answer as truthfully and as concise as possible, because we do not have a lot of time as well. We're going to start with you, Mr. Guy Hutchinson, CEO and president of Rotana. Management company is everywhere, Middle East and also Africa and East Africa. You've traveled every corner of the world, most probably, and you were assigned CEO and president in 2019, if I'm not, yes, I've done my research. My question for you actually is, why did you decide to leave your home country?
That's an interesting question. I never had a home country. I grew up as a global sort of citizen and have a Mauritian mother and a British father, and born in Venezuela, lived in Brazil, Peru, worked around the world, met Wolfgang in Amsterdam. So I traveled the world and ended up going into hotels because it was a career that could give me that same travel experience. And if you're in this business, it's because you're a people person and because you're passionate about it. And that hotels gave me that outlet to really connect with people and to connect with travel. So 2 of my great passions.
Amazing. That's great.
JJ, President, Hilton, Africa, Middle East, and Turkey, 30 years with Hilton, started his job in 2020, has recently been nominated one of the most influential leaders in the Middle East by Forbes. Guy just said lots of traveling in this business. How do you manage to balance private life and business responsibilities?
Well, I think you have to select the moments when you're somewhere to be really present. I think that is really the thing which is most important. So when I'm in the hotels, when I'm traveling, I'm trying to be really present there. But when I'm home, I want to be really present there as well. And I think, one of the things I think which is really important for all of us, and especially if you get a bit older, is that you stay fit. And so you need to find your moments when you go to the gym in the morning, and I carve out of the schedule when I'm traveling, and you're traveling long distances. You still have to carve out time in your schedule just to go to the gym or go for a walk or do something else. I think that's very important. I see my friend here often in the morning. We walk in the same area, and I cross him. But it's important, I think, that you balance. The question often comes, with all the travel you do and the moving around from one country to the other, how do you manage that? I think the reality is you have to have a family that supports that. I mean, that is true. But also it's about giving back to them as well, and give them opportunities to travel with you and do the sort of fun things, because they always think that when we are traveling, it's only for fun, right? But it's not always fun.
Good. Thank you.
I think that's so important that you mentioned that, because a lot of people, especially when you're at your level, people tend to forget that you're also human beings, and that you also have other things in their jobs. And I guess that's something I want to ask you as well, Mr. Sandeep. So 25 years within the industry, even more, right? And now you're taking care of the operations of Marriott here in the region as COO. A lot of hospitality stuff. But my question for you is, besides hospitality and beyond it, do you have any other passions or interests?
Yes, for sure. One would be crossing my friend on the left every morning at one of the Marriott gyms. Kidding. Yeah, but I think one is for sure a good start to the day with a gym or a run or some kind of sport to kind of have that 1 hour of my time or me time. I think that's one for sure. The second for sure is the end of the day is a bit of reading, without which I just can't fall asleep. So that's the second for sure. And in between is, I would say, the hotel itself, or the hotels or hospitality or people are what truly which excite me. So the day in between just vanishes. And I think that's a passion point. I think people are a big passion point. And it's true, because end of the day, our industry is, we as Marriott don't own hotels, we only manage. And we own brands, 30 brands. And these are all brought to life by people. So the passion point is certainly people, to see them, truly said, to see them grow, to get them into different positions, that's exciting, and that's passion.
Thank you.
Common line of people. People are culture, Guy. Lots of traveling, lots of discovery of new cultures. Should we say lots of adapting to new cultures as a human being personally?
Always.
What were the biggest challenges for you personally in this?
Oh, I think, because maybe in a way, because of the way I grew up always changing from one culture to another, going South America to Europe to Africa. So, I've always grown up in that space. It was never something particularly alarming to me. It wasn't, I spent 20 years in one culture and then started a career. So I'd always had that adaptability. I think probably the most extreme change for me was going from Dubai to Tokyo. Because you can't go, and then from Tokyo to Australia. So, and then from Australia to China, and then from China to India, and back to the UAE. So, those are very drastic cultural changes, particularly when you go somewhere very structured like Japan. But you learn, you adapt, you study, you read, and you find your way always. If you have the right mindset, what I've always found is, those fundamentals in great leadership, those fundamentals in great people management, translate across all cultures. So if you conduct yourself in a particular way, if you conduct yourself with that level of professionalism, of ethic, of value creation, people first, value creation, that works whether you are in Australia, Japan, China, India, or the UAE, always. And that's always what's armed me going through those cultural shifts.
Very good.
I was told that I could call you JJ.
Of course you can.
I've done my research and I saw that you've been with Hilton for a very long time. My question for you is why? Because I don't want to offend you in any sort of way.
I started when I was 6, so it's 22 years by now.
You've been in Hilton, I hope this doesn't offend you, for longer than I've been alive. So, I mean,
was it your idea to have her on here?
Wasn't prepared, huh?
I'm going to remember this forever, JJ.
I hope this is So my question for you, yes, it's why, and also could you please tell us the pros and cons of staying within a company for this long?
Yeah, no, it's a very good question. And listen, I never thought it was going to be 32 years, but it went very, very fast. And I think, one of the things, there's a couple of things. One is that Hilton has always given me great opportunities in going from one job into the other job. I've met some amazing people along the way. One of them sits on this panel, or sits there at the end. I worked with him many years ago. I worked with Guy as well. We are a company that really believes in the people, and we train people to stay a long time. I mean, we are rewarded as a great place to work. We're a top 4 companies in KSA, UAE, and in Qatar, actually. So, we're really, the whole purpose of our company is very important to us. And if you we did a research recently, actually, among UAE millennials and Generation Z, and 2/3 of them actually said they want to work for a company that have real purpose, right? And one quarter says they want to work for a company that sustainability, that really champions that part of the business. And so for us, we've been working on this for a long time. You just saw our CEO on the previous session. Speaking, it's all about the people, and he's been always very clear that we have to take care of the people in our organization. We make sure we train them, we treat them well, and I think that's what we're doing, and I really like that. And I like to see people grow in our company. I like to be a mentor to many of them. So I have a couple of mentees, which similar age as you, which I always try to calm them down a little bit. But it's and that's really the fun part of the business, to see people actually grow and see them do better. And I always like to think, if I'm talking to the team members, I like everybody to achieve their career and a little bit more. Yep. I never thought that I would have the job that I have now today, ever. But people pushed me and guided me, and so I want to do the same for others as well.
Very inspiring. Thank you.
Sandeep, one of the things we learned about you when we did our little research is he's a certified coach. Now, some of you maybe do that also, coaching, mentoring. What do you take out of this personally from this, and what advice would you give to coaches in here? What is important when you do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. What drove me to actually, I did a formal 1-year course in coaching, and it is something very much linked to what JJ said. I never imagined sitting here in this role doing what I'm doing today. And there were a lot of people who have helped me or shown me the elevator to take to go up. Oh, that sounds easy. Shown me the staircase to walk up and grow. And till today, I'm thankful to them, because every time something came up, there was somebody who gave the opportunity to grow. And I feel that it's time to certainly do that in reverse, to help people grow. And there's no better happiness to see a first-time general manager getting the role, or getting that call where you're able to give them a call and say, congratulations, or a department head or a discipline head or whatever it might be, the position. So I think that brings true happiness. And to be able to do that, I felt I need to kind of start to become a coach where one is doing a lot of active listening. And as easy as it sounds, we are often today sitting in meeting rooms like this, and I could say that a few of us would be, if I was sitting on the other side, there are times when your mind wanders. To kind of go through a proper session where you remain very active with active listening is not as easy as I thought it would be. So that was something which I started with, those two thoughts together. And when I put it in a blend, it was that, I would love to be a coach and kind of give equal opportunities to others to grow. So it's time to show the elevator or the staircase, either ways.
Okay.
I think we are ready to jump into a second part of this panel where we want to talk more about the industry and company insights. And I'm going to come back to you, JJ. I find your case very interesting.
I can feel the love here. Yeah, okay.
There's one thing that we talk about a lot lately, and actually I was part of that group, the labor challenges, right? We went through basically the most craziest thing recently, which is called COVID. And after COVID, our industry became suddenly less attractive in some sort of ways when it comes to, job opportunities and just the labor challenges in general. My question for you is, why do you think that happened? What happened to our industry to make it so unattractive, unfortunately? And also, what are you doing as an individual to help the industry get more attractive to people like me and the students that are here? How are you attracting them?
Very interesting question. I think COVID has really changed the whole landscape of how people want to work. And so if I look at how work was done in our industry years ago, I think we have really moved sort of on from that. I mean, the time that this industry was working 18 hours a day and getting very low paid, hopefully that's gone for most of the regions. We try and structure our work better. We have more people in the departments where it really matters. I think we use IT where we can use IT to make sure that we can free up the people to talk to our customers actually, which is very, very crucial, I would say. I think we as an industry, and it goes I think for everybody, have not done a good job in promoting the industry or hospitality as a career. And there's still many countries where the industry is seen as something you do when you are a student, and then you never do that again, right? And people have a job in the local sort of bar. But this is a great industry. I mean, this is people can make careers here. Let me give you maybe 2 examples of things that we do with partners here in the UAE. One is Cedra. Now, Cedra employs or helps people to find a job with people with a disability. Mm-hmm. So they're helping people integrating into the business. Only last week we signed full-time contracts for two young people, one with autism and one with Down syndrome. They're working full-time with us. So you're giving people a real purpose, right? You give people a career opportunity. Mm-hmm. And we work with Evolving Women, and Evolving Women, I think they're on stage tomorrow as well. A great partnership in getting women out of Africa. We have a couple working with us who really have the ambition to start a career in hospitality, who didn't have the opportunity back actually home. Mm. We have one working in the Canopy here in Dubai. Her ambition is to go back to Botswana and to be a general manager there later when she's sort of fully trained. So you really can give a career to people. I think we should get better at explaining people that don't have a career with us.
Thank you.
Guy, Middle East, moving from big to small, hot region, lots of opportunities. Where are the risks in the next couple of years in the Middle East?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because if you look at it, the outlook is extremely positive. I mean, I don't think apart from maybe a little blip in the summer where you've seen some of the European capitals sort of benefit from some of that revenge travel, our regions have rebounded faster, been more resilient than pretty much anywhere in the world. So for us, when we looked at that space, the story is completely different. Even going back to that resourcing question, we don't have that issue. That's an issue which was compartmentalized to domestic US and to Europe, where there was a different interaction with human resource and talent management. Here, we're no better or worse than we were in pre-pandemic, in fact, possibly slightly better. I think for us, probably where we focused the most and actually where we've invested the most in the last 8 to 10 months is in learning and development. Because if anything, for us, our business is built on the quality of the experience that a guest has in these destinations and the fact that was always been benchmarked at a premium. And as you go through that COVID experience where there was a lot of rationalization, for us getting back to fundamentals, getting back to quality standards, getting back to being best in class, and getting back to providing for the customer, the traveler, that absolutely premium, that experience of excellence across Dubai, across Abu Dhabi, across anywhere in the Middle East is fundamental to our future, and it's fundamental to the sustainability of growth in this region. So we've invested a lot in learning and development. For us, that's also dealing with turnover and retention issues, because the stronger you are in terms of recruitment, talent management, learning and development, how you onboard, how you hire, what the experience of employees are for those first 6, 10, 12 months. The stats all tell you that if you get a colleague through 18 to 24 months with you, beyond that, turnover drops by 50% or 60%. So we've put an enormous amount of focus into frontline employees, into L&D, reorganizing all those on platforms, reinvesting in fundamentals, because for us, making sure that quality of experience maintains pace with development is probably the risk.
Good. I think we move to sustainability.
Sure.
Big subject matter of
Absolutely.
the conference.
I guess it's very relevant since we just announced the winner of the Sustainability Challenge. I actually have this question for you, Sandeep. You've seen all of these amazing presentations, and they are so out of the box. My question for you is, what does it take to implement these kind of ideas? Because they're so basically out of this world, right? So what does it take for Marriott, for example, to implement an idea such as the winning one, the Cornell one?
Sure. So I think there were different ideas presented. One were different innovative in terms of tourism. They were focused on people. And it's a bit of a localized answer, and depending on what the subject is. So, for example, let's take the people one, right? We have a program in Egypt and in Saudi called Tehsin. It's all about localization. Today we have 99% of our people working in our hotels in Egypt are Egyptians. And in Saudi Arabia, it's a little lesser at 45%. But the whole focus is localization, local talent, but similar to what was presented to get leaders ready for tomorrow. So we've kind of implemented this in a way of a program called Tehsin with 2 universities. In fact, with the winning team coming from Cornell, we've tied up with Cornell actually in Saudi Arabia to come up with a program called Tehsin, and a local university in Egypt to come up with a similar program, where the first year they spend in the university in Egypt, and the next 3 years they spend in one of our hotels in Marriott in Egypt itself. At the end of the 4 years, and this is real, at the end of 4 years, which was just last week when I was in Egypt, the result were crying parents emotionally of people who were graduating, who were guaranteed a job with a bachelor's degree in one of the Marriott hotels. I think that's bringing it real. Of an idea that got presented, yes, it was about government funding, but in a similar way, we got a university to kind of come together with us, did a bachelor's program and a guaranteed job for 80 graduates. Similar, we have it in Saudi Arabia, where we are saying, okay, what do we do with Cornell University? It's a 2-year program, and at the end, the high potential candidates get to become either hotel managers or general managers. So we're getting leaders of tomorrow ready today. In terms of the other part of the competition where we've kind of looked at different innovative ideas. Of course, we have Saudi Arabia. Let's stay with NEOM. In Saudi Arabia, we have the Red Sea project, which comes to life actually just as close as next year, where the first 2 hotels to open would be the St. Regis and the Ritz-Carlton Reserve. So end of the day, to answer your question, I think it'll be with partnership with the country where we are getting into with these innovative ideas. It is in partnership with different ownership groups, which we managed to kind of do this with.
So it's possible. Everything is possible.
Everything
basically.
is possible, absolutely.
JJ, sustainability has been a fantastic focus for the conference. Lots of talk. Everybody talks about carbon neutrality. Can a company like Hilton actually achieve carbon neutrality?
Yeah, I think we can. It's not going to be easy. But we have achieved a lot already, and I think, if I look at the focus we've put on it, and it's not something of the last year, but over the last 15 years, 20 years. If I look at the changes we have made to the operations of the hotels, and there are small things, right? There's the LED lighting, it's the straws, and there's a lot of small things we all do as an industry, which really make an impact. And I'm not sure who of you was in the room when my colleague Emma was here. Emma and her team have been incredible is changing the food and beverage, the way we operate our restaurants. We're working with local suppliers. We announced with our partners Fresh on Table in the beginning of the year that we would source 350 tons of local produce. And today, already we announced it in February, we're now in September, we're already at 291 tons. So, we're really achieving massive change in the way people behave, how chefs source local products. So that's at the food and beverage side. I think the whole education on our team members remains very, very important. A lot of competitions and getting people to do the small things, and then we still come up with new sort of ideas as well. My colleague Eliza is also here. I'm not sure if she's in the room, from the AD&C, so Architecture Design Department. They can help you if you want to build a hotel to make sure it's built in a proper way. It is obviously far more easier to build a hotel from scratch in a sustainable way than adapting an old building. But there's some great things out there which we actually can help hotel owners who want to build hotels to do it in a better way.
Guy, I actually have a question for you. We talk a lot about ESG during this conference, a lot of talks, right? My question for you is, what is the biggest challenge to go from talk to actual action? Is it financially, or is it the people? Is it the culture? Like, what is the challenge there?
All of the above. I think fundamentally, it's the key to sustainability is for organizations, for companies, for municipalities, for governments to embrace the principles of sustainability, not as a peripheral issue, but as a fundamental way of doing business. We firmly believe that companies that are truly sustainable are going to lead their sectors. And that goes beyond, yes, food waste, food production. It goes down to human resource practice. It goes down to design and construction. It's a really a 360-degree strategy encompassing every aspect of how you do business. And yes, capital in many cases is important, because if you have a hotel that is 20 years old, or was built 15 or 20 years old, then you have a challenge to make that energy efficient. So there's a lot of technology refitting that needs to happen. So it's really all of those aspects. I think one of the key things, though, is, and I can't speak to other parts of the world, but certainly about this region, is the pace of change. So you have to have nothing but extreme confidence about this space, because where that might take longer in other spaces, or perhaps countries like the UAE or Dubai might have, over the last 10 or 15 or 20 years, maybe been slower to pick up some aspects of that, there will be no matching the pace moving forward. So how that will come into classification, how that will come into regulation, how that will come into design and construction standards. So it doesn't become a choice of a developer building a building in one way or another. It will be a requirement that if you build a building in this city, that's how it has to be. And this is where this region will lead the world in this space. If you look at where we are today and you look at where we will be 5, 8, 10 years from now, this will be one of the most sustainable destinations in the world. Of that, we believe.
Sure hope so.
Big challenge ahead. We are running out of time, but one final question to each of you. I mean, we talk about managing this sustainable challenge. It takes leaders to make it happen. What do you three, as individual leaders, do really personally to lead that process? Sandeep, starting with you.
To lead the process in terms within the sustainability.
Leading the change. What are you personally doing?
I would say a balance between staying focused with the heart, being kind of committed to all the changes that need to be done, and keeping the mind of an entrepreneur. So yes, we are committed to doing the things we want to, both in terms of ESG, in terms of whether it's economical or social, but also keeping in mind, to Guy's point, that it needs to be financially sustainable for the ownership, and to kind of bring that two together is key to make it more sustainable. So for me to drive the fact that, yes, we need to do an X or Y initiative, but also have the owners on our side to understand the benefit of it and stay that entrepreneur mind is important. So I think keeping that heart and mind together, bringing that together, makes it more successful.
Thank you. JJ?
Yeah, our customers and bookers want that we do something, right? And you know, we have to be better at the storytelling. I think that is really crucial. So we did something which is called internally. So over and above everything what Hilton is doing in my region, we did something which is called 22 for 22. So we have 22 pledges, which every hotel is doing. So we can tell the story at the end of the year. You know, I can say confidently that we planted 1 tree for each team member. We took the plastic bottles out. We took the plastic laundry bags out. You know, so we have a whole list of 22 items that we're actually doing to make sure we can tell the story better. I think, you know, as an industry, we should get better at it because a lot is already done. We have an incredible program called Light Stay, so every customer can actually see what each hotel is doing on energy savings and socially, and you know, they have a really good system. And personally, I bring my own bag to the supermarket, and I take my own water bottle if I go to a conference.
Good. Thanks. Guy? Last word.
Yeah, you know, I think perhaps our scale helps us a little bit because, you know, we don't have quite as many stakeholders in the decisions that we have to make around sustainability. So, you know, for me, as long as it's at the forefront of my planning, my thought processes, if it's at the forefront of our board of directors' thought process, if it's at the forefront of our leadership team, it happens. We went from having single-use plastics to having no single-use plastics in every hotel in 3 months, because we perhaps are a little bit more masters of our universe with the scale that we operate, and we're not answerable to quite as many organizational levels. So from that perspective, as long as we keep it at the forefront of our thinking, if we make decisions through the lens of sustainability and the team around us believe in it, then we are very quick, very fast, and very forward in implementing sustainability.
Son-Trang, we could go on for a long time, but time has run out.
Go on forever.
Please thank our panel for that interesting discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.